All right, welcome back. We're seeing some movement in college football. USC, UCLA, jet to the Big Ten. There's going to be some other movements. There's rumors that Florida State, Clemson are going to go to the SEC. So I guess the question here, and I'm going to start with Pony because you're the big Pitt fan of the group, yes, besides me. You know, what happens to the ACC now? Maybe the bigger question is, what happens to Pitt? Do they get left out?
So the ACC, you're a TV guy, Richie. The ACC has the most, the best deal for ESPN. They pulled one over. It's a deal that runs through 2036. The networks, which have powered these realignment moves, they don't have any interest in doing anything with the ACC teams. They like status quo for that conference. And I think it's going to be a very hard time for the lawyers to get involved and push a Clemson or a Florida State or one of those teams out of those leagues. I think the ACC right now, the thing that they're going to try to do, which they'll fail at, is try to convince Notre Dame to join for football. And they won't be able to do it, but I think that's where, as a conference, they stand right now.
I think if you're ESPN, though, Pony, and you're right, they're driving this. This is a proxy war between ESPN and Fox, basically. If you're ESPN, it gives you a chance to really dismantle the ACC. And you're right, it's a good deal for them as it stands right now with the ACC, but if you get to enrich your SEC brand, which ESPN would get to do with Clemson, Florida State, who knows, maybe Miami, maybe North Carolina, I don't know who the other schools would be, then ESPN is going to print even more money off the backs of the SEC. I think we're headed, Richie, for two mega conferences. That's what it spells to me. Two 20 to 24 team conferences. It may take 4 or 5 years for it all to shake out, but eventually the Big Ten, who cares more about geographic footprint and large media markets, will be a bi-coastal market. They already are a bi-coastal conference. They'll have maybe Washington and Oregon. Who knows? If Miami doesn't go SEC, they'll add Miami. Maybe they add a BC and Notre Dame so they can get the Catholic schools and a big Boston College market and Chicago. They already have Chicago, but you get my drift. They care about TV households. How many people are going to be streaming the games on their apps in the big city? How many people are going to want to go to games in those major markets? How many big brands do they have? And then the SEC, they just want to keep adding quality football. Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, which I mentioned. So eventually we'll have two 24-team conferences that kind of dictate the landscape. And as much as I love the University of Pittsburgh and their football program, and a lot of people over there, the Big Ten has no need for them.
So if I summarize what you're saying Pitt's getting left out.
Yes.
No, I think that sounds right, too. Pitt is not a commodity in the college football world. It's just the way it is.
And if Penn State were 2 hours farther east and were more of a Philly school alone, and Pitt could give the Big Ten the Pittsburgh market, maybe we're talking about something. But the Big Ten network is already on most of your TVs. You go home and watch a lot or look to download the app. Yeah. You've got access to it. And so they don't need to add Pitt, unfortunately, to get the Pittsburgh market.
Pony, Heather Lyke has a lot of Big Ten ties. Don't you think she's on the phone right now trying to get this school into the Big Ten?
No, it's going straight to voicemail. I mean, no one's going to answer that. The Big Ten commissioner, Kevin Warren's got no use for Pitt. I mean, Mack, what he said about Pitt and Penn State's situation is 100% right. I'll just say I don't know if the ACC will go quietly here just because you got the North Carolina Duke basketball thing, which I know doesn't drive the bus. But if the college football playoff gets worked out in a way where it's not just the Big Ten winner against the SEC winner, if it's still 4 at the table or if it gets expanded out to 8, if the money's there for Clemson in the ACC, I think they might just stay there. You know, because that gives them still the best shot of getting into the playoff, competing for national championships. And if the the ACC is probably going to look to expand.
You know, that's a good point. Would you rather be, if you're Clemson or Florida State or even Miami, a marquee, top-of-the-line ACC program, or would you rather be just another one of the guys in the SEC?
My prediction on this is if the Big 12 and Pac-12 can't merge, I think the ACC is going to try to take a couple of Texas schools to get themselves out west and bring like a Oklahoma State and maybe a Texas Tech or Baylor into their conference.
You talked about merging, and I want to give you a scenario. We got to take a break, but I want to throw a scenario at you guys after the break. We got to back in a couple minutes.